It's time to dive back into the tangled web of Season 4 Part 1 of You. Buckle up, because London was anything but a fresh start for our favorite stalker. In a flashback, Joe Goldberg tracks down Marion in London, but chooses to let her go after she calls him a murderer. Joe is later met by Elliot Tannenberg, a fixer working for Love's father, who sets him up with a cover identity in exchange for killing Marion to tie up loose ends. Joe instead pickpockets Marion's necklace and sends its picture to Elliot to make it appear he killed her. In the present, Joe lives under his new identity as Jonathan Moore, a university English professor. He develops an interest in Kate Galvin, the girlfriend of his obnoxious fellow professor Malcolm Harding, who lives in the flat across from him. Joe saves Kate from two muggers. To repay him, Malcolm invites him to a party at the elite Sundry House, where Joe befriends author and mayoral hopeful Reese Montrose. Joe gets heavily intoxicated at the party and awakens in his flat to find Malcolm stabbed to death and missing a finger. Assuming he killed Malcolm before blacking out, Joe disposes of his body. The next day, Kate invites Joe to dinner. As Joe arrives, he receives a series of anonymous texts from Malcolm's real killer, thanking him for disposing of the evidence. Joe recalls a reference to the artwork in Malcolm's ledger and believes Simon killed Malcolm to avoid being extorted. However, Simon is murdered that night, with the killer cutting off one of his ears. Joe returns home to find his wall covered in newspaper clippings from his past, the killer having deduced his real identity. The killer sends Malcolm's finger to the press and is dubbed the Eat the Rich Killer. Joe discovers his student Nadia was in a sexual relationship with Malcolm. At Simon's funeral, the killer orders Joe to kill Kate. Joe follows Kate around to protect her. Though initially cold to Joe, Kate eventually opens up to him and the two have sex, unaware that Vic is watching them. The killer suggests Joe is aroused by murder. Joe plays along and tells the killer to let him finish Kate, and the killer arranges a meeting with him. Phoebe calls Joe to Sundry House, where the police are waiting to question him. Joe is invited to Phoebe's family's country manor for a weekend getaway. Joe comes at odds with Roald Walker Burton, Kate's childhood friend, who, as Joe discovers, is obsessed with her. Kate later reveals to Joe that her father is a powerful investor with whom she cut ties due to the harm his business dealings have done to the world. Joe realizes he may be in love with Kate. He runs to find Kate, only to discover her kneeling over Gemma's corpse with a knife in hand. Kate insists she did not kill Gemma. Joe comes to believe her and helps her dispose of the body in a barn while the others are partying. Kate confronts Joe about his past after noticing his apparent experience with covering up murders. Joe admits that he disposed of Malcolm's body and that whoever framed him is now trying to frame Kate. Kate goes to tell Phoebe to dismiss the servant staff. While she is away, Roald discovers Joe in the barn and brings him to the others, accusing him of being the killer. Despite Joe's protests, Roald gives him a head start to flee before pursuing him with a shotgun. Joe subdues Roald in the woods, only to be captured and placed in a dungeon by the real killer, Reese, who, having come from poverty, committed the murders out of hatred towards the rich. Reese tells Joe to kill Roald so they can frame him for the murders. When Joe refuses, Reese sets the dungeon on fire and leaves. Joe escapes and frees Roald, and the two are rescued by Kate. Joe does not tell the others about Reese and vows to bring him down himself. Reese announces his candidacy for mayor of London. If you enjoyed this recap and it's got you hyped for the next installment, make sure to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.